What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So there is one thing I did want to talk about here on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown that I have been seeing pop up, and that is going to be the physics. Now, the first thing I do want to say right off the bat is I do like them, but I also do agree with people in the fact that things can be a bit, like I guess you could say, tweaked with it, or at least make it a tad better than how it is currently. Now, some people might be like, well, wait, what do you mean by that? So here's the thing, guys. I did make a video about the two-wheel drive vehicles versus the four-wheel drive, and how that's going to be a slight difference, or at least a big difference, depending on the class you do end up running. But in this case, though, in testing out different vehicles, you will notice that a lot of the four-wheel drive cars are noticeably better. So is that actually going to make the two-wheel drive cars have worse physics in certain areas? I would actually say that's going to be a yes. Now, here's why, though. If you're actually using a two-wheel drive car in the rain, you are definitely going to notice it. If you actually use a four-wheel drive car in the rain, you're then going to be like, okay, yeah, I got some grip now. You're also going to fly off the line faster, which I would say does make sense. Like, yes, an all-wheel drive car can do it, which I also mentioned that in that one video, but we all do know a lot of players are going to look at a rear-wheel drive vehicle and how they are a bit squirrely at times and go, man, like the physics aren't good on them. But here's the thing about that, though. I do feel like with a few patches, I think they could actually change this a bit and most likely make the two-wheel drive cars just slightly better overall. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not saying like nerf the all-wheel drive cars, but instead actually make the two-wheel drive cars a tad more manageable in the rain and stuff, and also make them a tad less squirrely at higher speeds. Now, I do know you could probably jump in and go, well, wait a second, Block, like, come on, man, a two-wheel drive car is not going to handle all that great at higher speeds. Well, here's the thing, though. A lot of those cars are actually going to be pretty dang good at higher speeds because they are made for that. Now, I also feel like in some ways this could probably turn into some type of like debate and stuff in the comments, which to be honest, I'm actually really curious to know what you guys think about this. Are you actually enjoying the physics in Test Drive? I have to say again, I am, but I can definitely see where some people are coming from in certain areas. I mean, if you actually want to do some racing stuff, in some ways you are forced to use a four-wheel drive car, to where if you actually like that said two-wheel drive vehicle, it's just not as good. And this is going to come down to a few things, like once again, if there's a lot of corners and stuff. But also, though, do not get it twisted, which funny thing is that actually goes with the entire corner thing I just said. We all do know right now that yes, the two-wheel drive cars are going to be pretty dang good in the actual, like, dry asphalt, which I have noticed something like, for example, guys, the Aston Martin Vantage. Probably one of my favorite Grand Tourer cars in the game. Is it going to be the best one? Well, we all do know the answer to that, probably not. But in the actual daytime when you're using this car, it's so dang fun to run. It's going to be fast, it handles. Now, if you actually switch that over and go into the rain part of it or certain places, then yeah, sure, the car is probably going to struggle at higher speeds or when it's like upgraded a bit more. And you will also most likely find yourself probably having issues finding traction in certain places. Then on top of that, you're also then going to have the insane AI that for some odd reason love to fly off the road every chance that they get. But they're also going to be insanely fast when jumping off the line and stuff. And if they are using an all-wheel drive vehicle, you are most likely going to be in for a treat when going against them, using something that's probably going to be all-wheel drive in certain time, like let's say the rain again. If you guys are actually doing that, you're probably going to have issues getting any kind of grip, and you're most likely going to be completely sliding all over the place. Now, I do know once again, yes, this could probably be a tad more realistic, or at least that's what they were aiming for, but do you guys actually think this is going to raise an issue with the physics, though? Like, I do feel like players are going to be like, man, like, I don't want to use this car. I want to use that one, but I can't because it's going to be raining in this event, and my car is not going to have any grip whatsoever. And in certain places, I did know the faster you actually make that said car, then yes, you're also going to have a bigger time trying to find traction with it if it is actually going to be rear-wheel drive. Now, as of right now, when I was recording this video, I don't actually have the hypercars unlocked yet, but I am getting a bit closer to actually getting those, so I can't wait to test them out. But from what I have seen so far in like Discord and different videos on YouTube and stuff, that yes, there is going to be a clear winner, that the four-wheel drive is basically just that much better than pretty much everything else. Now, I do think some of that once again can come down to like a meta type of thing, but also on top of that, though, I do think some of that is going to be part of the physics. Now, I do feel like they could probably update some of that and make them a tad better, but how do you guys actually like the off-roading physics in the game? I actually have to admit, I feel like they are pretty dang solid. I did also hear about that apparently the developers that made Test Drive also made like the WRC games, or at least, rallycross games. So that is probably going to be why the off-roading is fairly decent. I mean, I do like it. Running the buggy is going to be absolutely insane because that thing is a rocket ship. But even running something like the Range Rover, even the Raptor, I do like the way they actually feel off-road. Now, I have been driving a few different cars like the Aston Martin Vantage. I was also using the Audi R8. I've been also using the lovely Camaro ZL1. And I do feel like every car is still going to be great. And another car on top of that I did miss is the Ford GT 2006. They are still going to be incredibly fun to use, and they are really fast to also run them. But at the same time, though, you are going to see some flaws when you start upgrading them on how they just don't put the power down correctly because they slide everywhere. Or on the other side of that, you do end up finding yourself being a tad easier on that throttle. That way the car can actually grip for a second, then you actually turn into hyperactive, from Spaceballs back in the day, and you pretty much go completely flying in one direction doing, 250 plus miles an hour. Now this is going to be great, but again though, are they going to be incredibly stable at those speeds? I mean, the big thing is probably being able to control it, and I still also believe in some ways some of the cars being a bit better in that aspect might also come down to the main like tuning and stuff on them, which I'm definitely going to have to take a deep dive into those. But I would like to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you actually like the physics in Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and what are some of the things you might actually want to see changed with it? Overall, for right now, being around, I think I'm level like 39 or something when making this video, I actually am really enjoying the overall game so much and the driving physics. Is there going to be room for improvement? Well, of course, there's always going to be room for that, but I do feel like in the future of the updates, they are going to address this stuff and most likely really go after certain things that players are talking about. Like if a lot of players are getting upset that most of the four-wheel drive cars are too good, then they might actually end up going in and making the two-wheel drive physics just a tad better. That way players can actually run them and go against four-wheel drive, but also run their favorite two-wheel drive vehicles in most of the races and actually beat the AI, because my goodness, they are absolutely insane when they're in a certain car. But that is probably going to be the fun, challenging part to it, which I still think they're going to have some type of changes to the AI to where you actually could run your favorite car and you're not going to get outclassed by something because it's not going to be a certain thing like four-wheel drive. Again, guys, let me know what you think about the physics here in Solar Crown in the comments below.